You could use that in a lot of sentences.
One rotten apple spoils all.
Apple a day keeps the Undertaker away.
All right. Thank you. I'd like to call to order the October 3rd, 2023 Columbia Borough Council work session. Could I have a roll call, please?
Council President Zink,
Here.
Councilperson Kaufman,
Here.
Councilperson Stahl,
Here.
Councilperson Fisher,
Here.
Councilperson Price,
Here.
Councilperson Littner,
Here.
Councilperson Burkhardt,
Here.
Mayor Lutz.
All right. Would anybody like to offer an invocation? If you'd like, please rise for a moment of silence. Councilperson Burkhardt, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, announcement of executive and information sessions. At the conclusion of the last council meeting on Tuesday, September 26th, council held an executive session to discuss a personnel matter. Are there any additions, deletions, or reorganization of the agenda needed? I don't think so. We did that before the 24 hours, so I think we're good. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as published?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the agenda as published. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Citizen comment, non-agenda items only. The first item we have is Frank Boucher. What?
No problem.
No, I forgot to get it out, so
Well, it's work sessions.
it's a work session, so there's a little more leeway here.
Is there something I don't know or something? This is the least people I've ever seen in the meeting.
I don't know.
Let me say it like this. I think it was at the budget meeting, Mark Fisher, you brought up, you read off of a paper that you had there. I waited another meeting thinking maybe you'd put in our packet. I don't have a clue what you brought up. I asked some other people, and they go like this. I think it's something that you're looking to fund from the borough. Could you maybe just touch on it so I have an idea what you're talking tonight? Sometime if you just touch on it and tell me what it might be. Okay, thank you for that. I'd like to talk about the volunteer people of the borough, which to me, I think that's one of our biggest assets. Regardless of whether it's parades, the car show, whatever it is, they do a job. And the big thing of that is they don't get paid. Maybe they get a meal out at the end or whatever. I don't know what happens at the end of those meetings or whatever. But I hear a lot about you praising people that are on the payroll for employees. Maybe they deserve it, but folks, they're getting paid to do a good job. And I sit there and I hear you say, such and such, thank you, well, that's what they get paid for. What happens when they don't do a good job? Do you ever bring it up? That's, to me, that's one of our biggest assets, and I'm so glad that we got that here. Lastly, my understanding, the zoning officer, Sharon, whatever, I can't pronounce her last name, is no longer here. Correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Any reason?
Yes. But nothing I want to share here, but yeah, there were reasons that she's no longer here, absolutely.
Any reason? Was it a dismissal?
There are reasons why she's no longer here, but I'm not going to discuss it in the meeting tonight, Frank, that's not appropriate.
Well, then that gives me the assumption that there could be something terribly wrong.
Okay.
I remember the chief, and there's two other officers, they come here, council voted on it, and we know what they're doing when they leave. We know why they're leaving and retirement issue, whatever. When I don't get an answer like this, it makes me think maybe there's money missing, maybe there's litigation coming or whatever. It just, that people assume this when you don't tell them the reason that they're gone. And I know where you're coming from, and I understand that some of it you can't bring out, but I just wanted you to know that people is going to talk.
She had nothing to do with money, Frank.
Yeah, it wasn't a criminal activity, there was no legal action, there was no charges being brought against her, so
No.
none of the things that may be an assumption happened, none of that.
No.
That's a plus. That's a plus, because that'll, the people, however they can think whatever they think, but even myself, when I don't know why, she got retired, I know that, I seen her here at the last meeting, I think it was the last meeting, and it just, she left abruptly, you know, and it just makes me think there's something wrong, and I usually like to know, because we fund her salary, we pay her when she was here, and what happened, so I'll eventually find out later on. A good lawyer once said, never ask a question you don't know the answer. Well, that's one of them I didn't have an answer on yet, but. All right, I thank you for listening to me.
We have Mayor Lutz and Chief Brahmer, neither of which are here. The first workshop item is a discussion on the amendment to the approved shade tree list. Has everyone looked at the shade tree list?
So the Shade Tree Commission, I think we started last year talking about the fact that we wanted to update the list of approved shade trees. So we have it done, but we thought before this is approved and adopted, I asked Julie to come in and just kind of walk us through some of the changes, why some trees are removed, what's been added, if anything. Not necessarily go down tree by tree, although, again, I did ask her to bring a full-size version of every tree. She did not do that.
Yeah,
So I don't know how we
see the
look
service
at it
area.
now, if we
Yeah.
can't see them all.
Where's the
It's
service
gonna make it
fair
very
at?
difficult.
Tree ID.
Yeah, walk around town and she will help you find them all. So anyway, if it's okay, I'd like to have Julie just walk out through, she did majority of the work on this, and we'll just kind of talk through the list. If you have questions specifically, you can ask.
Does anyone have any questions on it to begin with?
Oh, I like that paperwork, Nate. I like it.
Gorgeous.
Are they the ones
I
in
mean,
Staffers? I like theirs.
The gist of the changes are just to
Sorry, do you
update.
mind, I hate to do this,
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
why
sorry.
mention that, because then
Sorry,
people will
I
know.
didn't know if I was formally.
Yeah, formally you're up, so then that way people online can see it here.
Alright. Okay, so, what I was saying was, we just wanted to make the updates based on things like, having drier summers and conditions that are making certain species harder to maintain. Things like pests, like spotted lanternflies. And so we also looked through our list. We tend to get the trees we plant from Brooks Nursery or other local nurseries, and so some of these trees are really hard to find that were on our original list. And so we went through and just sort of, looked through, compared lists with towns, cities like Lancaster and State College. They have pretty progressive tree programs, and just sort of opted in and out some of the species based on whether or not they grow, easily, or again, just availability, if they have issues with pests, that sort of thing. And so if you compare the 2017 to the 2020, the new list, you'll see it looks like we've removed the trident maple, the hedge maple, which is considered to be invasive at this point anyway. Tatarian maple, painted maple. The Coosa dogwood is a hardy street tree, but it has fruit that is not pleasant to deal with. So especially with cars, vehicles, things like that. So we decided to remove that, and I think we replaced it with what was it? It was the Constellation dogwood. What else? We did move a couple trees over to the medium-sized category because of the height. We set out to really try to limit the smaller trees to under 20-ish feet because we have, especially in the downtown area, the space is so tight for trees. So we wanted to differentiate between the small and the medium and really try to keep it under, which is hard because a lot of the trees fall between that 20 and 30 at mature height for the smaller trees. And then we did bump a few, I think we bumped 2 over to the large category for medium also, just because of the height. Just so we're better at getting the right tree in the right spot going forward instead of, just planting trees that are way too big for the tree wells, and then we have all these issues. So that's kind of the overarching goal of this. So yeah, those are the basic changes we made. Does anyone have any questions? Sure.
This, I don't know all the details, so forgive me if I have this wrong, but with regard to the height of the trees and the wires and things like that, I think there was an incident today where someone was trimming a tree and we had a power outage.
Is that at Ridge?
Yeah.
Because I was at school and I heard that everything was down.
Yeah,
Is that what caused it?
that's what I.
Yeah, well, he was trying to do it himself.
Yes.
Oh,
That's a guy trying.
I just heard there was an accident. I thought it was parents.
Yeah, I knew the transformer.
Well, the transformer blew because he pulled the wires down because he was trimming the tree.
He's very fortunate that he was not.
Seriously?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I found out what happened. Because I, drove by, I had to go look.
Oh, yard tree, I think.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm wondering though, so Allen Ridge, they don't have a sidewalk down that way, where I saw this, I don't think they have sidewalks. And so, if the tree's planted under the wires, or that close to the wires,
Right.
who, I guess up to the homeowner just to make sure they're maintained then, because in here I see that it says the homeowners are responsible even for the street trees, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And PP&L will come through and they will take down whatever they need to take down. We don't really have any say over that at Shade Tree, so.
We didn't have any say either, because we tried, when they came through,
Yeah.
they just wanted to,
They top or they, notch it, and it's pretty unsightly, but, we don't really have any authority over what they're doing. So our best, defense against that is to get some of the trees in those situations that don't interfere. So yeah, that's what we're always considering. And this isn't, we will consider species that aren't on the list if they fit the space, if it's an appropriate fit. But this is more of like a general list that we can give out to people if they're, struggling to find something that would fit a particular space. So that's where we are with that.
Is the Constellation dogwood the one that really smells bad in the spring?
Yeah, the Bradford pears smell
Bradford.
kind of wretched.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's one I don't like.
Are they on the list? What's this called?
They're definitely off
I'll
the
tell you
list.
later.
We had one blew over.
Yeah, there's still a few around here and there, but most of them are starting to decline, so we'll probably see the removal of those over the next handful of years.
So again, this list is for trees that are in the right of way or the canopy extends out into the right of way. This is, if you want to put something different in the yard or in the front of the backyard or other places, that's different.
Yeah,
Doesn't affect those.
entirely.
So your point, there are trees that were planted in 2013. We used to have a big, huge gum out of our street. Actually, the borough crew took it down for the gas line, and UGI was really great. Thank you, borough. So there are trees that are old, not appropriate, problematic.
bad for the curbs, bad for the sidewalks. If somebody wanted to get a tree removed that didn't match the list, that is problematic, what would be the process to go about doing that and replacing it?
We come out and we take a look at the tree and we take all the factors, around this. Is it healthy? Are there issues with it? Is it interfering in utilities? Is it damaged? Is it causing other problems? It's just a case of it's messy. We don't recommend taking it down. If there are true issues, then we'll discuss it as the commission together and vote on it. I mean, we just had some of those issues come up of late, so, what we have left of our mature street tree canopy, we're trying to preserve if the trees aren't causing issues. If they are, that's a different story. So, it's kind of situational, piece by piece.
There is a street tree at 10th and Locust
Yeah, we have that one on our.
in front of where Judge Booger lived. It's all ivy and the tree is dead. I wasn't, okay, so you guys aren't looking at that and
She's
trying
going to
to,
schedule that. She was gonna first attack the branches and then deal with stem later. But that's been on our radar for some time. Yeah, we have a few that are, actually completely dead that need to come out, so. We're working on those.
yeah, I wasn't sure if you saw that one up at Locust or not. And I drive past and I'm like, oh shoot, I wanted to ask about that.
Mark, what is it, 99.5% dead? Did you
Yeah,
say?
yeah.
Yes,
It's like one branch.
just 0.5, I thought it was more like 99 point.
We measured it scientifically to get that
Did you?
decimal point correct.
Did you?
Yeah.
All right, well then, I guess I would argue.
But that was a few weeks ago. It might be different now.
Yeah, it might be. I don't know, I drove by today and it's looking extra puffy.
That's the ivy.
Yeah, the ivy is looking extra puffy.
Tell me,
The ivy's doing well.
It sure is.
Just a question, Heather.
Yes.
What's the name of the tree that the borough is planting in our sidewalks?
Which tree?
What's the kind of tree that the roots are supposed to grow down?
Where is that, Frank?
In our sidewalks, all our sidewalks.
Well,
All over town or just right
there's
here?
different-
Mostly all over the street. Whenever they did a new street, they would put trees in. They had so much trouble with the roots. Then they come across a tree that said that the roots will go straight down.
I don't know any trees that have roots that only grow straight down.
Well, what do they usually plant in the right of way?
Along here, they have, zelkovas, they have some maples, they have honey locust,
Yeah.
trying to think what else is out there.
Well,
Yeah, Frank, the time of planting all of one species of tree the whole way up Locust Street is done. They vary the species the whole street. There's not just one kind of tree. They do multiple so that if, say you have an infestation of the ash borer beetle, if you had all ash trees, all your trees would go. This way, if there's an infestation of some sort of pest, not all of your trees are going to be affected.
Do you remember what I'm talking about? I think when Miller was there,
I remember when they planted all of the same kind. I think they were
the roots would
How
grow
long
up
ago
out of
was
the
that?
hole.
they Bradford pear trees?
That's what I kind of.
I think they were the Bradford
That's what I'm
pears.
thinking, because that was the it tree.
Yes, that was
Like 30 years ago.
Yes.
They just went in everywhere.
Yeah, they went in and they did the whole street. They did them all at once, right?
Yeah, I heard him talk about, though we found a tree that the roots will go straight down and won't have that trouble no more.
Right, and then we got those tree grates
I don't know.
because they were supposed to cover it so that, because the roots weren't going to disturb them and, yeah. What?
That's a utility pole.
What is? It's
straight
really-
down.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's a utility pole, Frank, that's a hell of a pole right there.
I remember distinctly them saying that. And I thought, well, maybe that's the answer, that the roots won't be, we'll have to mulch them and put iron grates on them, and go through all that mess that we went through.
Mhm.
So regardless, whatever, so if they go bad, we're not replacing them. Am I correct?
Well, no, we are
We are.
replacing them, but not with the same species.
Well, that's understandable.
Right.
Yeah, we try to mix it, and we did add species that are recommended, newer species that are being used, especially in the small category. The hornbeam and yellowwood, other trees that, even witch hazel trees are doing well as urban trees. So we tried to expand the list with newer recommendations. You know, it's just a good thing to update these lists every 5 years or so because of the changes and staying current. And we do want to vary, definitely want to vary. We don't want the inventory that I've been working on. I have about half the town inventory for the street trees, and the red maples are way ahead, at closer to 40%, 50% of our canopy. Which means if something comes through and decides to, like the lanternfly, chew on the maple, then we're losing 40%, you know, in a year or two. So trying to steer away from maples right now. That's another hot topic. So yeah, we have them on the list for approval, but we're recommending other trees, you know, to kind of balance that out. So yeah. Any other questions?
Julie, do you have, and I should know this, do you have an inventory of the trees that we planted up at the Borough Farm?
I have a list at home, I didn't bring it with me tonight, but we have, over 2 years, we were able to, through the Keystone 10 Million Trees Initiative, plant around 100 trees. We have an 83% survival rate the first year, and this year I've taken out maybe 10 total. We're at about 85 trees now, but we have all natives in a varied species. Like we have redbud, serviceberry, dogwood, sycamore, white pine. I have river birch up there, handful of other things. But the goal is to just have a supply that we can use when we need it. Everything was free to us, including the sleeves and the stakes.
That seems like a pretty good survival rate.
Yeah, it's not bad considering we haven't worked out a solid water.
Right.
We're using the water buggy that Jake uses, and he's been gracious enough to fill it. It's just getting volunteers up there during the hottest part of the summer. But this year we did really well with it. First summer, not so much, but we're working all that out, you know.
Yeah, because Raffo has a little nursery section along Little Chickies, and I think about half the trees that they put in are not
Yeah,
making it.
that's pretty common.
Yeah.
They're not, you know, it's just kind of hit or miss. If we get rain that year, they do okay, but
I think
this
their
was
problem is,
intended.
yeah, I think their problem is it's where they have them, it's not real sunny, because there's a lot of other canopy there.
Yeah, we've got, I was just up there 2 days ago, and I did cut out 2 red buds that split. They were actually huge, and they split, I think, in one of the storms. So I try to take them out as I go, but I am going to tag them, and I have linked it to the K10 Million. They have a GIS to track everything. So as we get more to add, then we know what's coming in and what's going out. But it's, like I said, it's all free. And this year I was able to get larger stock instead of the year before. It was just, they were just seedlings, smaller, which have a harder time in a climate like that. Up there it's pretty harsh with the sun and the wind. And, so considering that, I think they did really well. this year we put some larger trees in, and, they seem to be doing okay too. But yeah, that's just a project that we started to try to offset some of the planning costs. And we can use them in parks too, green spaces. We have, shrubs that they are also, happy to give us. So we've got, native shrubs and, yeah, I just take whatever they give us. It's free. Put it in the ground, see what happens.
So Julie, the 100 you said you planted in 2 years and you have 85 left, is that all, are they all with Grove Lawn?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, when she approached us with this program, we didn't want to turn it down. We were looking for a place to plant them. I know we have some tree walls that need to be filled, but we weren't ready to pick what goes where yet. We decided, let's start our own little stockpile, if you will, of these trees, and it's worked out really well.
Yeah.
The idea that we had was just keep this going now, keep a supply of nice trees around, and then if we need to replace one or do something with it or add to a park or something, we have them.
All right, so what is our next step on this, Mark? Do we have to, is this something we have to adopt?
Yeah, we'll bring it back as an ordinance for council to adopt as the approved street tree list, and then.
Well, is it a current ordinance that we would just have to update the ordinance, or is this a new thing?
I'd have to go back and look and see if we actually approved the last one that way.
Okay.
But I like having council approve it, and again, it's not an absolute hard and fast. If somebody has something other than this list, they go to the Shade Tree Commission and they have to request, this is the type of tree I'd like to put, this is where to put it, and we'll work with people on it. But I think if we have it as an ordinance in our regulations, then we have some ability to help enforce this too.
Well, and it's nice because I have a place that right along the street that I would like to plant a tree. And I was like, I don't know what kind of tree to get for there. And so this would give me some sort of, something to go on also to look, just because I'd be looking at the small tree.
Yeah, I think you're on our list.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to,
Yeah, I asked Amy to come take a look at where I wanted to put something and see if something will work there.
we're gonna do a fall planting, the 28th and November 4th Saturdays. We'll probably put 12 trees in each day at this point. So at sites, so it's all volunteer, and then, Jake has, 2 of the public works, crew usually come and meet us. They pick up the trees for us, so it's a big group effort. But I think this will probably be our biggest plan so far. Got a lot of requests this year, so that's good. So yeah, if you see us out and about,
I'll honk. I'll bring you
Yeah.
some water. Bring you some chips or something, like snacks.
Donuts.
Yeah, donuts.
Pizza's always well.
Or I can pick up some bread from the market house and bring it over because their bread is banging.
All right, we'll take any of it. We're usually out there a good 4 hours. Any other questions?
Yep, everyone good? All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Next, we have a discussion on the board, commission, and committee vacancies. I asked Mark I wanted to start thinking about this now so that we knew what was coming up at the end of the year. I wanted us to be thoughtful about our board appointments, and if there's also to start now that we know we're going to have vacancies on different boards, we as council can start talking to people, trying to see if we can get people to serve in these different roles. I can go down through, or Mark, did you want to go down through and tell us what's here? Because I forgot to write down this.
That's right, yeah, sure. So I have not heard back from the Civil Service Commission yet, so we haven't gotten confirmation on those. On the Park and Rec Advisory Board, Kurt Edmond, who's currently vice chair, and Sylvia Garner, who's the chair, have decided not to continue on these 2 boards. So they do not wish to be reappointed. And we do have a vacancy, and we'll talk about that as the following item, but just to be aware. Planning Commission, Mary has asked to be reappointed and Kelly has asked to be reappointed to the Planning Commission. Shade Tree, Amy, has said no. You all know Amy and Justin have given so much to so many different places here. She is just stepping off this right now. I know this will be involved in community and other things, but she's asked to step off and not be reappointed, so we have a vacancy there for the Shade Tree Commission. Did talk to Bill Floyd. He is more than willing to serve again on the vacancy board. With regards to the William Lockard Trust, that's a 5-year appointment, and he's kind of evaluating how much he's involved with right now. So he's going to let us know mid-November if he wants to be reappointed to the trust or not. So he'll get back to us on that. And Dave Grubal, Steve White, and I just heard today from Terry Ann, she does want to be reappointed, so she's asked to be reappointed to the zoning hearing board. And again, we're not doing this tonight, just think about it, and then we'll bring those all forward in the December meeting to reappoint before the start of the year.
As far as the people that want reappointed, I'd like it if we could be provided with their attendance records. And it would be nice if they are not the chairperson, if we could get something from the chairperson as to whether or not they've been, an asset to that board, or if there are concerns with them continuing to serve or whatever. So we can make an informed decision. Is there anything else council believes we should ask for?
I would say too that if it's one of these boards that you're the liaison to, maybe talk to them, get some more information, and bring it back for council.
Right. No one from Harv is up this year?
Please.
That's interesting. Because there should be.
Well,
Well, no, I know, but we staggered them. We staggered them so that there were.
Well, there was an issue with some of the dates, so,
Yeah.
Oh, was there?
so we made them, there will be some next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do the red blocks indicate?
I think that was when I built the table, I was flagging people I hadn't heard back from yet, just to remind me to follow up. I forgot to take this off.
But what we know now is we don't have a vacant on the civil service. We do not have a vacancy there. He might not be up this year. I didn't think we had a vacancy on there. I thought we in fact had an alternate.
Yeah, okay, we double check that one.
Yeah, double check that one. But for sure, we need at least 3 people for the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. The Planning Commission does have an alternate already, but there are 2 positions there. But I encourage people to apply if they have an interest in this. Encourage people to submit their application. Because we just don't know it's always nice to have, choices as well for these positions. We are going to need someone on the Shade Tree Commission. The William Lockard Trust, if Bill Floyd decides he cannot do that, I think that's a pretty minimal.
Once a year.
Yeah, they meet once a year. That's a pretty minimal commitment. And zoning hearing board, yes, there are 3, but I believe all 3 have been on for a while, and we have to decide, do we want to keep them? Would we, and I would encourage anyone, if you have a desire to serve, fill out an application, find out what those boards are about. It does not hurt at all.
How many people are on the William Lockard Trust?
I think there's 3.
There's 3 board members.
Mhm. yeah, I wanted us to be able to think about this sooner rather than later. Not jam it in as an afterthought at the end of the year.
I think there is someone interested in shade trees today.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's covered.
Oh, we had someone before.
Yep, she wants to come back.
Oh, does she wanna come back?
Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, but still, I don't wanna discourage anyone from applying because, I mean, we can always, you know, or maybe someone has an interest in that, but would also like to serve on Parks and Rec and so, you know. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay. All right, and then finally, discussion on the Parks and Rec Advisory Board versus a Parks and Recreation Foundation. I sent out that information. In our code, there are two things. It is one of them mentions the Parks and Rec Advisory Board and the other mentions the Parks and Recreation Foundation. And Barb had asked, if it was worth it for us to move to a foundation rather than the advisory board. So Joanne, did you want to take it here? I don't quite know what to say. Or Barb, I'm sorry. Joanne, or just the someone see, I don't even know who's who now. What? It's been a rough day, okay?
Eat your eye.
It's been a really rough day.
The information that Heather sent to you all yesterday, I believe it was. This talks about how Parks and Recreation boards as well as foundations, how they work together. So, and I thought that would be interesting to look at because I know that there was some hesitancy about moving it all to a foundation. But if we were to find a way to partner with the foundation, you know, for Maple Park and perhaps even for Rotary Park, and we're able to work together as a team, it would solve some of the fundraising issues that they have. It would solve ongoing recreation activities within the parks. And I think it would also, a big plus would be that it would cause neighbors around the surrounding, the neighborhood around the park to become more involved in their park because they would have a, just an investment, more of an investment in it. So if you had time to look over it, I think it's worth discussing.
I've been giving a lot of thought to this, and, you know, our code isn't really robust in either section.
No.
At all. But, you know, I was thinking about this, and we also received an email from Hope, and what she said made a lot of sense. If we move to a foundation, I mean, you still have to have people that are committed to making it work. And we're struggling to just get a board together. You know, you think about like the Jansen Foundation. They've been around for a long time, and you know they constantly, you know, they have the people there that can step into those roles. The same with the Glenfelder Foundation. You know, we struggle to get people for our regular boards and commissions. I mean, not just Parks and Rec, but other boards. Sometimes we struggle getting people to volunteer for. I mean, in a perfect world, yes, that would be a wonderful thing. I just don't know that it's feasible for us because I don't see anyone coming forward and really having that passion and staying involved.
So would we have both? Would that be the case?
Yeah, you would work together as a team.
So you would have a Parks and Rec
Foundation and a Parks and Rec board, and they would work together as a team.
I think too, I would have to agree with Heather on that. It's kind of been hard for us to get the Parks and Rec board, and it looks like the foundation would have even more responsibility than they would with finances and all.
The difference that I see it being is that we as a governing entity don't have to appoint or pick people to be on the foundation. It's people in the neighborhood step up and say, I want to see my park have more activities. I want to see more happening in my park. And to know that they have a voice and they have something to say about what goes on in the park, I think it's going to, people just throw up their hands and say, why bother? They're going to do what they want to do anyway. But if they have an opportunity to be a voice in what's going on in their neighborhood, I think it's worth a try. I think it's worth a chance to see who will step up. Like, for example, Kurt Edmond, he's not applying for a reappointment or whatever that's called. But yet he's very involved in Maple Park. He's very involved in the kids in his neighborhood. And he does things to get the kids active and to get them choosing positive activities for their lives. And that's in that neighborhood. Government didn't work for him, but he's not giving up on the park, and he's not giving up on the people in his neighborhood because he's invested in it. And I think I'm not sure about Rotary. I don't know too much about the neighbors there. But I personally, from being involved with some of the people in the Maple Park area, I don't think it would take much to put together a group of neighbors who want to see something happening in their park.
Why don't you start with that as a test pod, just Maple Park with Kurt Edmond?
Yes, and I was considering...
Have a conversation just with him.
Yeah, I was considering what Hope said. I'm looking at this, at one point she recommended that we do an ad hoc. And I'm wondering if we're unsure about this, could we, would an ad hoc work to be able to put the feelers out there to see if we could have enough interest to develop a foundation? And the ad hoc would just, it would be like a transition. We're not sure if we want to do this yet because we don't know if we're going to get the people. But if we had an ad hoc committee who would put the feelers out there and see if there's enough interest to perhaps, enough interest in the neighborhood that maybe a foundation could be started.
I understand what you're saying about that, I believe. I'm just a little confused with the part about, if Kurt Edmond doesn't want to be on the board, are you saying he could be on the foundation maybe?
I'm saying that there are people in that neighborhood who care about what's going on at Maple, who care about the kids in their neighborhood, who want to see all the negative activity in the park. They want to see it gone. They want to see their kids involved in healthy activities. The neighborhood there want that. The government obviously didn't work for him, but yet he's not giving up on the park or his neighborhood.
Okay.
And so I don't know if he would be a part of a foundation. It's just that was an example that I gave you. How many other Mr. Edmonds are in that neighborhood who want to be invested but feel like their hands are tied because government's going to do what they want to do anyway?
Barb, I think that what you shared is I'm not sure if the word poignant is right, but it's something I've always struggled with Parks and Rec. Why is the government involved in managing these parks? Why are not the people in the neighborhood who use the park responsible for the parks? The kids. That it not only creates activities and interest in the park, but it also encourages people to take ownership in their own community, in their own lives, and learn skills and responsibility and being a part of something larger than themselves. I always thought the park should be managed by the neighborhoods. It's your park.
Yeah.
You take care of it. And if you don't take care of it, well, we'll shut it down. You want to use the park to take care of it. That's kind of how I always thought. I think it's a brilliant idea. And here's what else I believe. I believe a lot of times we have struggles finding volunteers because we have trouble casting vision. I think perhaps maybe Parks and Rec has been one of those entities that has struggled to cast a solid vision that people could grab onto. It's a nice thing, it's a great thing, but enter Kurt Edmond. Kurt Edmond is already engaged. He does have a vision. He has a vision that resonates with that community. People around Kurt Edmond in that neighborhood gather at Mackle Park because of Kurt Edmond. He is able to cast his vision, get the community involved, be responsible for a park. I think it would be an opportunity wasted if we didn't consider it at least as a test pilot for Mackle Park. I think it's worth exploring.
I just want to read this one quote that I thought was fit us on page 7 of the handout. It says, many foundations are established typically in response to an acute need within a community, such as a lack of funding for parks and recreation, deteriorating conditions in parks and recreation facilities, or issues of inequitable distribution of recreation services. And I just think, for the most part, that describes where we are.
I don't know if I'm misunderstanding the situation, but I wasn't aware that we were lacking funds necessarily as a driving factor of the lack of interest in the board, but that maybe it was more so a lack of, more like what Todd was saying, a lack of vision and leadership, because the amount of meetings that didn't take place this summer or this year because of it not having a quorum, that's not an issue with the organization, that's an issue with people not showing up. So changing the shell of how it's done isn't going to fix that.
This is not a suggestion being made because the Parks and Rec Board isn't functioning to the degree that we would desire it to be. This is a opportunity for us to take a progressive step forward in our Parks and Rec department. It's not a kneecap reaction to the current or previous Parks and Rec Board. Because I think every person on there did the best job that they could, and they put what they could into it. But Parks and Rec, I just think that this is just a step forward, a progressive step forward, not a reaction.
So would a foundation then have its own authority to raise money and apply for grants? Is that the main benefit that you see?
It is one of the benefits, but not the main benefit. There's multiple benefits.
It does say here they would have to maintain a budget and oversee contributions and so forth. So
Yeah.
you would have to have somebody step forward that was willing to do all that.
And that would be the foundation. Like, we don't have a say in the Jansen Foundation, and they do all of that. And we don't determine.
But that's
who-
private.
Yeah,
Well, I think that's private. You can't compare it to,
Won't this be private?
no, it's still public ground.
And that foundation, the members of that currently are appointed by a council. So if you wanted to do a private foundation that would partner with us, you technically can do that.
Right.
I know a lot of organizations get an existing company like Hempfield Rec or Lidditz Rec will come in and manage their programs and everything else in the parks. The municipality still maintains them, but these organizations then manage the activities, et cetera, that happen there.
So I don't see how it would work. I mean, technically a good example is the River Park Committee. They're ad hoc to the Parks and Rec Committee, and their main focus is strictly the River Park. That works down there, but it has a handful of people that are vested in the River Park. Number one. Number two, they still answer to Parks and Rec. And number three, everything they do has to go through council. By creating a foundation,
Wait a minute. They don't answer to Parks and Rec.
They're somewhat independent, but anything that they recommend coming out, and their whole focus is just about developing of the park space. Anything they recommend would have to come back to Parks and Rec and then the council for a final decision. That's, I mean,
Has it been doing, I mean, has it been operating that way?
yeah, like
I think
the-
so, that was the whole point of Hope getting on the
I
Parks and
thought-
Rec board.
The Parks and Rec really hasn't existed.
Right, so like the action you guys took to authorize Derek to begin the engineering, that came out of the River Park Advisory Committee. Park and Rec discussed it one time, and then it came to council for final approval. So it's not a formal structure, it's not technically an ad hoc that's underneath Parks and Rec, but still, in terms of the chain of command, anything they recommend would still go up through that chain.
And my concern is it becomes a foundation. Well, first of all, for 5 seats on Parks and Rec, and you have 3, and we're adding the 4th park. So if you have 4 foundations, where are you going with all these people?
Or one foundation that would do fundraising for all of them, I don't know.
But that's where, see, again,
But they're all in different neighborhoods, and if Barb's saying she wants the neighborhoods to get invested,
right.
they would each have their own thing because they're each in a different neighborhood.
Now, I have no problem whatsoever saying subcommittee for Maple Park, subcommittee for River Park, subcommittee for off of the Park and Rec Committee. Because they may have their own agendas, and their own agenda is that park, that neighborhood. As far as foundations, what scares me then is, let's say somebody comes up with a gymnasium grant. Do we have 3 parks competing against each other to get that grant? You know,
Well, and that's where council would have to step in and say, because we'd be responsible for the matching funds anyway.
So the grant,
Well, no, I know what you're saying. I'm just throwing this, I'm just trying to
No, I get you.
work through it with you.
I get you, but the point is, if it's a foundation, they are separate.
Yeah, that's true.
So they could compete against each other for the same grant.
What would the foundation be responsible for? Not keeping the grounds, not putting infrastructure in or facilities or equipment. It would be really about managing activities and events and organizing the neighborhood's activities within the park. I would say, hey, the council dictate what the foundation can and cannot do. So ultimately, we're responsible for the grounds.
No. Because if the foundation has to run the county, the foundation goes out and gets a $4 million grant for something, and they want to put, I don't know.
But that's where is not where you said Parks and Rec board interacts with, they partner with.
No, the
foundation.
agency would be council. I mean, it's basically one or the other, really, the way I read it.
I was thinking that the agency would be the Parks and Recreation
Right.
Board and the foundation, and the 2 of them would work together. So like this, the example of what recently they ran up against in creating and trying to generate funds for the Maple Park project. And they couldn't do anything because their hands were tied because they were in a government agency. But if they were partnered with the foundation then could pick up that part of the vision.
But that's where if we had a solid Parks and Rec committee, they could easily step out and go to a Jansen's or
The Lions Club or the
Lions
Elks.
Club.
Yeah.
And say, we want to do this project, here's our vision, here's the opportunity for money. As a club or organization, would you accept this money on our behalf?
And that's what we explained to them. It's like the gala they had planned for Maple
Right.
Park. Evan and I had lots of discussions about it. He raised a lot of concerns about the borough raising money through games of chance because we're not legally allowed to do that, but there are many organizations that can. So if we wanted to do that, get one of them to sponsor that, and the proceeds go towards the park and held in a separate fund. I think that is all possible.
I mean, my thing is, I think, and this goes back to the vision, and, you know, after the committee structure was done, and we still had the Parks and Rec committee, I think there was this big focus, and I think, you know, Barb, what you're alluding to is the focus on the activities in the park and getting people to do the activities in the park. But what we've seen is, and what we've said is we want to focus on the physical park and get that, and let the other organizations just have a nice place to use for the activities. So if you're talking about the foundation and getting the neighbors invested in their park, we're going back then to focusing on the activities and not the physical park.
I'm not focusing so much on the activities as I'm focusing on giving individual families and neighborhoods an opportunity to have power over their own lives and letting them choose what goes on in their parks. If their parks fail or succeed, it's going to be because of them. It's getting them to step out and have some control over their lives and over their neighborhoods. And the parks are just a small portion of that. Yes, it would include activities, but what it's really about is getting neighborhoods, getting neighbors, getting people involved in the community. Instead of letting life happen to them, they take control of life. And this is just one portion that if we just let go a little bit of our power, we can shift it over that way, possibly.
I mean, I see it as we're always asking for volunteers to come and do this and provide this input, and they still don't come out. So what makes this any different? I mean, I know it sounds like a Debbie Downer, but, you know, I mean, people just are not coming, people just do not want to get involved.
I think what I hear is that, what difference does it make? They don't hear what I say anyway. What, you know, we want them to come and we want them to hear our agenda, our plans, and then say if they agree or disagree. Let's give them an opportunity to say, this is what we want in our neighborhoods.
But they can do that now.
They can do that now, and unfortunately, if they say, oh, I'm going to be on this foundation, and we're going to make this happen in the park, and this happen in the park, and this happen in the park.
They won't listen to you.
If
They'll
we-
listen to Kurt Edmund.
Right, but if we don't have the money to,
point.
but if we don't have the money to pay for it, it doesn't matter.
But that's what the foundation, then let the foundation, if they
But
really
hold
want
on,
this.
hold on a second. If the people are going to Kurt has every opportunity, basically every Tuesday, three Tuesdays a
3
month,
Tuesdays a month.
to come in there and say to council, hey, I can get this grant through my own organization I created. Or you can say, we want to do this here. And we have the opportunity to say yes or no. I haven't seen anybody come in here wanting to make change, except for outside people.
I think I'm assuming that Kurt would want to do what we're talking about, and I think perhaps you're assuming that Kurt should do that. Maybe Kurt doesn't even know we're talking about him tonight. Maybe we should have a conversation with Kurt before we.
I'm just
Setting up a
using Kurt as an
foundation, right?
example.
I absolutely agree. My point is, if we had a 5-person committee
We're actually, Parks and Rec is 7.
for 7,
Well,
well, you need 4. But if we had 4 people on a committee that met every month, people would start having an opportunity to have a voice. And then, Kurt Edmund, who keeps coming to that committee, we may say, hey, council, we'd like to create a subcommittee for Mickle Park, because we have a lot of interest in there, just like you do down at River Park. But all we've seen is no-shows.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I see what you're saying. I see exactly what you're saying. But I say reverse engineer it. start this way with one small park, one experiment, and see how it works. Maybe there will be a change in the attitudes about the park and the community and their investment in it. And if it does work, why don't you reverse engineer it then into council and, subcommittees for each park? Why start it here and try to push it down and force feed it to the people on the street? The people on the street decide if they want it, and that's a pretty easy conversation to have. Really super easy conversation to have. And if they bite and they think it's cool, well, then I think there's a conversation.
So I don't disagree with you there. But here's what I would recommend. You said we're gonna have, right now, 3 park committees.
I'm not saying anything.
No. But Maple can have its park, River Park can have its committee, and
Okay,
Rotary, thank you.
perhaps
Rotary
a
Park,
perfect
I was
world.
getting stuck in. But no, let's say we have 3 committees, or we'll make 4. If someone can start planning out there to McGinnis too.
Okay.
So we can make 4 committees. What you do then, as part of those 4 subcommittees, is you mandate somebody on that committee to sit on the Parks and Rec.
There you go. And now you have a full board.
Now you have a mandate, everybody's invested.
See that? And you've reverse engineered it.
But what's the
Versus
difference?
coming from council and government and pushing it into the public. The public owned it.
I don't disagree. I kind of like Heather, if we can't fill one board, how are we gonna fill?
Again, I think it goes back to, we do a terrible job of vision casting.
We do.
Terrible job. We have vision, but we argue about it. We're arguing about it right now, about a vision, right? Oh, it's always an argument.
We're not,
And it's poorly,
we're discussing.
so, what I'm
Aggressive
saying,
discussion, okay?
right? And I think that, again, I'm assuming that Kurt's on board. He probably doesn't even know anything about
No,
it.
he doesn't know.
But I bet you if you shared it with him, he'd probably think about it.
I think if I shared this with a couple of people in that neighborhood, they would jump at the chance.
And I would share it with you.
That's great.
That's great.
But what's the difference between a subcommittee and a foundation? Explain.
Foundation is its own.
The foundation is an independent 501c3 organization that has the ability to raise money and
Yeah, I
do
understand that,
projects.
and you're recommending a subcommittee, so how is that?
The foundation,
So the subcommittee is not, it's like, it's a step towards a foundation, but not really
Two
there?
different beasts altogether, I would say. I say, if you want to go the foundation route, which would allow it to raise money and do programming and stuff like that, then that's a whole different thing. And if we want to go that way, I'm kind of leaning, like you two were saying, let's try it. It's already on the books. We don't have to create a new law. I say if there's interest out there, let's try it and see if we can get some traction on this. We're about to invest over $600,000 in Maple. I think it'd be nice to get something there to help oversee that and utilize it.
I don't disagree. But we have 3 parks. And all the focus going to one park.
Well, we have 3 parks. We have River Park that is currently being semi-managed by I'll say a professional team that's in there, and they're doing a great job managing both the crossings and some of the activities out there. That could easily be expanded, and that park has a covering over it, if you will, that's working. Rotary Park right now, I don't know if we need that level of investment yet. I think I'd like to get there, but right now, people just use it, go out and play and do stuff. I think with the investment coming to Maple Park, I think that would be the great one to try this as a model and see if it works.
No.
And then put Heather in charge of McGinnis Park. That's gonna be her baby.
Yeah, and we're getting musical instruments out there.
We're getting them out there,
We're
absolutely.
getting them out there. We're getting them flowers that are the hand drums.
But I like the idea, Barb. I think it's a great idea to get, because I know the frustration that the board had with them trying to do the gala, and they weren't able to do the fundraising because they are a board of the committee, of the council, not independent. And it didn't work to get them to, I don't know why, but they didn't reach out to the other organizations that could have raised money.
I do not, I hesitate to say we're going to form the foundation right now because that implies just what you said. Getting the 501c3 and setting all that stuff up, which is expensive. And I'm not willing to do that unless we are sure we have the interest and everything else to make this work.
Sure.
It's fair.
But I think we got 2 volunteers to go out and beat the bushes and find people to sit on.
Yeah,
And
and
while you're beating the bushes, find people for,
Yeah, for your other committees.
Fire department, for
for,
commission,
for the planning,
Now-
zoning hearing board.
let me just read here what Hope suggested, that, that we transition the remaining 3 members, Hope, Angie, and Liz, to a Maple Park ad hoc committee. So what if we transition them to that ad hoc committee, and they are the ones that go into the neighborhood at Maple Park, and of course I'll go with them because I want to, but what if they were to kind of like take the temperature there and see if it's something that could possibly work?
it's just discovery right now.
Mhm.
But they could do that as the Parks and Rec Board.
They can just do it as people too.
Yeah.
They don't need to
But if
really
there's
go to
only
the
3 of them, do we
committee.
still have a board?
I don't know if
They still go out to Discovery,
Yeah, but would they be an official board?
but it doesn't matter, they can still go out to Discovery.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So
They,
would
yeah,
be
they
an
would
ad
still
hoc?
be they would still be the board, we just have a bunch of vacancies and 2 of them make a quorum.
I thought 3. Oh, okay.
If there's only 3 people, 2 is a quorum.
But I thought you have to have 5 and 3 is a quorum.
No, you do not have to have 5. We can have up to 7.
I think it's.
I think we said up to 7, but let me look it up quick.
Yeah, we said up to
Up
7.
to 7 and the majority,
Yeah.
whatever makes majority is quorum.
Okay. Well, 3 is a majority, right?
No,
Two.
7, if there's 7, up to 7, if there were 7 filled, 4 would make a quorum.
Okay.
If there's 5 filled,
3, and if there's 3 filled, 2.
2.
I got you.
So 2 of them talking together is not allowed when there's only 3 of them on the board.
So they can't go out, sorry.
Well,
I would say, at this point, I would have to think about it, but
Yeah.
initially, I'm somewhat opposed to going the foundation route, partly because of how complicated it gets. It's adding another entity, and we don't really know at this point if there is enough interest to keep that going long-term. And then you have to decide what happens if interest is lost in a year and there's a defunct foundation that we just put money into, and now, all the different aspects of that. Where I agree with you, Eric, the fact that the council is always open to hear from those on the board right now, and we have been. So if they're feeling like they aren't heard, maybe I haven't heard them speak, so, like they haven't come to say what they're thinking. So if they're leaving because they don't feel heard, then unfortunately that's not our fault if we didn't hear them.
No, please don't misunderstand. I wasn't referring to the board when I said that. I was referring to a portion of the community.
and I think that's a cop-out. People always say that, oh, people are going to do what they want to do. But how do they know, like, every 2 years, we have multiple seats on this board that turn over. If they're not coming to tell us what they want, how do they know or not? For people to say that, I would challenge them to say, when is the last time you spoke to a member of the government, of our local government, to tell them what you wanted?
I think you're asking a lot from the average.
But I know, but that's what I'm
Person.
saying, I think it's a cop-out.
People
Honestly.
have been speaking to me
Yes.
recently,
We were
just
talking
about
about their-
that. And it's easy for us to say if we've never been on the other side of injustice. I think it's easy for us to make
Well,
that.
hold on a second, what's injustice?
Well, what they consider to be injustice, if we've not walked in their shoes, if we've not, if we've not had to experience what they've experienced, and how, it's easy to say, we don't know. We don't know why their voice has been silenced. We don't know. We don't know we don't know what they experienced.
This is all good conversation. I think that a good next step would be just to talk to Mr. Edmund and
Talk to the neighborhood.
Run up that flagpole, see if he wants to go with us to talk to the neighborhood.
Find
And if it
people.
doesn't fly, it doesn't fly. No, no harm, no foul.
Right.
And another thing, consider this, Peter, what if 501c3 establishments already in the community said, I would like to join forces to be a part of a Maple Park Foundation? We
Such
wouldn't
as-
have to establish them, they're already in the community.
Such as
Already
CCAT
ready to
came
go.
under the animal shelter.
You just need to find someone that's willing to do that.
Yeah, they could be out there.
He slid right underneath there and
I'm not saying I can't be sold on it,
Right.
but I'm just sharing my thoughts initially. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone's input. Joanne, what do you think? I'm not talking.
Why not? What do you think, Joanne?
I like the foundation idea. I like Todd and Barb going out and seeing what the community wants to do. Like we said, it's a part.
yeah, ultimately, foundation's going to work. It depends on the community, not us.
Exactly.
That's true.
So,
Yeah.
So when I think of foundations, I think of large endowments that people are put in trust to manage. Not the opposite. Not have nothing and try to build something. It just seems totally opposite to me. And that's where,
I'm not familiar with foundations, so I can't.
think of any foundation you can think of.
I think of Gladfellow Foundation.
Yeah.
They were given the land and money and given the direction to manage it. Same with Janssen Foundation.
And they still do fundraisers,
Mm-hmm.
but those fundraisers they get are more like day-to-day operational fund money. The foundation's still sitting on a huge amount of money that they're entrusted to manage. And it just seems like it's totally opposite here. And I get the fundraising. If we come up like a subcommittee, like I said earlier, I have no problem going back to Mark and saying, we want to create individual accounts for each subcommittee. So that when I do fundraising, that money goes back in and where it's at. But, because I'm sure they don't, Maple doesn't want to fundraise for a different park. So I get that, I totally get it. But I still like the idea of it staying, the main as a Parks and Rec committee. And there's other, I'm sure like the MAC, they would jump in at any opportunity for fundraising opportunities. Because it's not about the money for them, it's more, for them, it's all about socialization and being part of the community.
How do we know that that professional basketball player who put new courts in down there wouldn't step up and say, I want to fund a foundation for Maple Park? How do we know that?
Well, all I'm saying, he does. Then he comes to council,
Yeah.
tell us he does.
But we just don't know what's out there.
Well,
Take a risk, Eric.
yeah. I don't think being risky with our parks is a good idea.
Okay. Good conversation.
So you and I will figure out when you're going to talk to
Sure.
Mr. F. And then we'll report back.
Alright,
Okay.
sounds good. Yes.
We covered a lot of territory.
That's what the work session's for, to cover a lot of territory.
I'm lost in all of what's said. We just got a grant for Janssen, correct?
We did not. The Janssen Foundation did.
Okay, so anytime we go for a grant, do we get it for our parks or do we get it for a certain park?
You get it for a specific purpose, a certain park. Like, we got a grant for Maple Park.
I think it's a little different, Frank. Theoretically, they're all Columbia Borough parks. Columbia Borough goes out and seeks a grant. Now, the committees may say, we want to go after a grant because we want to do this project in this park. But it's not the park's representation going out seeking a grant. It's the borough seeking the grant.
Right, but when you apply for a grant, you have to have a specific project in mind for that money that you're using.
Right.
Because that's Your grant application has to say exactly what you are going to do with that money. You can't just say, I want a grant for all my parks, because that's not how grants work. They say, what are you going to do with it?
And I listened to your committees versus the foundation. If you have 5 people in a committee, depending what area of town they're from, maybe someone lives very close to Maple. Don't you think they're going to favor Maple Park
Yes.
over the others?
Yes.
And Peter brought up about money, and it's all about money. If you ain't got money there to spend, people are not going to have you on board. You brought up, I think you brought it up, about the Alpha Foundation. What does that have to do with the school? The school is involved in that foundation somehow.
That I don't know.
Yeah, that's,
I know they have a big say in what's going out there, and why I never followed up on.
yeah, I don't know. That has nothing to do with us.
Yeah, I don't know, you know.
All right, just a couple of things I remember.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on the Parks and Rec situation? Nope. All right, then we have borough council comments. We'll start with Peter.
Nothing tonight, thanks.
Nothing, thank you.
I wanted to thank a couple people from the water company. They are doing some work on my block, and I think there's a team of about 4. And Eric and Dustin were extremely kind enough to explain what they were doing, how they were doing it. They showed us maps of what's underneath the ground, and anyway, we appreciated the time they took to talk to us about the project, because it is very messy and it's ongoing for several weeks. So I just wanted people to know that we appreciated them. That's all I have.
Heather, you have an item on here that says borough council comments. So you get to comment on your comments that you're making?
No, it's the action items that we're discussing is where you get the comment.
It means the borough council gets to say something.
Yes.
Each one of us get to say something.
Okay, I'll bring it up.
I have nothing.
Councilperson.
I have one thing. Pennsylvania Furniture Mission extended their means of referral to include the school district, council, fire department. So that means that if you know somebody who needs furniture in their home, you can refer them to Pennsylvania Furniture Mission. The administration here has received intake forms both in English and in Spanish. All they ask is, like, if you refer somebody, if you go along with them to the Furniture Mission. So,
I want to thank staff for sending out a TextMyGov instructions on how to ask questions to the automated system to get real answers back. That was very helpful. I would suggest maybe doing that regularly, just as a reminder. TextMyGov.
I'd also like to put it on, if we could get that put on Facebook as well. I mean, I know I wrote it out and it was shared, but it didn't come from the borough. I think it was shared as well. And I don't believe I have anything tonight. I'm just still flustered from being without power this afternoon. All right, announcement of next meeting at 7 p.m. on October 10th, 2023. Council will hold a regular meeting. Could I have a motion to adjourn? I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Price, to adjourn at 8:19 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? We're adjourned.
I don't know.